Welcome back, League Ball, for another week, and not a happy weekend last weekend for the Tigers. Losing, unfortunately, in the Cup, Colts, and the women bowed out of the BHP Premiership because of a draw. Gavin, Payne, onward and upwards?
Yeah, it looked very sad. The Tigers losing, especially the women. Would have been good to see them make the finals with that inexperienced team that they have, but they're better for the experience, I guess, for next year.
Tweed they're not second on the ladder for no reason.
Gee, they look really slick. Like they look like a very far side, the bits and pieces that I saw of the game. So yeah, full credit to them. They haven't always been up there, but they're up there this year.
Split round. I think it was only about 4 weeks ago we already had a round bye, so there's another bye this weekend. Jon Buchanan, obviously a lot of work to do defensively. That was their downfall last weekend. They got away to a flyer in the first 20 minutes, and then after that it just all fell apart.
Yeah, it coincided with a bit of a sin binning, I think, along the way there as well. And that's not really a valid excuse, but it certainly doesn't help.
Yeah, a lot of points. And the competition, as I said, 4 byes, 4 games played, and then next weekend we take on the Pride. Have you been up there?
I've been up to the Pride, yeah. Been in North Queensland. I played up in Barlow Park a few times.
Yeah. Speaking of sin binning, no.
Did I get sin binned up there? Yeah. Only once ever, I think. But not up there.
Not up there. There you go. Once all. You only been sin binned once. You've been sin binned once in your whole career.
Yeah, they didn't sin bin in the old days, mate.
True. Well, should they these days? That's for sure. All right, League more. Enjoy. We've got a Galaxy Star as usual. We've got Jon Buchanan and a whole lot more. Back soon. There's a long trip and a longer trip home, JB. They got some enterprising footy. They threw it around. We expected them to be mobile out wide, and they were.
Yeah, look, they've only lost 1 game this year.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. We found out on the weekend why. They're a really good footy team. I thought they handled our forwards really well. It's probably the first time, I reckon, in the last sort of 6 games that someone's held our forwards accountable for the day. And yeah, they got plenty of joy out wide. They got good speed, and they did a really good job on us, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought Ben Atlantis played well. You have a forward pack up against their side, and obviously they've led momentum for Michael Purcell's first try. But they got the jump on you. But after 20 minutes, it was just close your eyes. It was pretty terrifying.
Yeah, I think after 24 minutes we were up 6-0 and lost Mitchell Fry to the sin bin. And yeah, I thought we hung on probably the first 4 or 5 minutes that he was in the sin bin fairly well, and but the last 4 minutes I think they scored 3 tries in that period. Yeah, look, we didn't defend well enough as individuals or collectively for the day, which is really disappointing, because I think if there's been a strong point to our performances over the last 4 or 5 weeks, it's been our defence. So yeah, look, we got exposed in a number of areas, and it's just not good enough.
All right, here's the upside of things. You debuted some players. They've got IC experience under their belt, so that's a plus there. The Torpies were out there, so it's almost like the Hughes brothers back in the 80s. So there's a positive to come out of that. It gave opportunities for other players to step up.
Yeah, Cameron played his first game for the club at this level. He's obviously played, I think he played 9 or 10 games a couple of years ago at the Pride. But yeah, it was a special occasion for him and the Torpy family, just in regards to him being an East Junior coming all the way through. So yeah, it was good to see. He's been playing consistent footy in BRL. We just thought he was due to get an opportunity. Young Haley for now has been probably the best performed player in our Colts side over the last month. So he did a whole pre-season with us. So he got an opportunity to play a bit of dummy half with Aaron Booth playing NRL. So that was pleasing. And I'm trying to think of Zach Tybee. Sorry,
fully.
Zach's just real popular member of our squad. Had a tough pre-season with injury, but he's thoroughly deserved an opportunity, and he didn't let the team down on the weekend either.
Can I just touch on that players coming up from the BRL? Zach Tybee, I've seen him do some magic stuff. Cameron Torpy does some stuff. When Braden Torpy drops back, he makes a difference to the side. So is there, when you speak to these players after the game, they say, holy smokes, that's a hell of a lot. Is the gap there?
Oh, I think so. I mean, I'm not out there, but
yeah,
a number of them just say the speed's through the roof compared to BRL. And then, of course, you've got the collisions that come with that. I know young Ronnie Filatoga said after the game on the weekend, he said like they hit a hell of a lot harder than they do in Colts. So, yeah, I think just it's, you know, for them to take certain experience out of their game, it's important that, you know, they learn from it and they're better for that experience moving forward.
All right, you got a couple of weeks off. I'm training tonight, Tuesday night. Give them a few weeks, the week off. Come back again next Tuesday, I guess.
Yeah, we're doing a club night tonight, and then they're going to have a week off actually, which we haven't done yet. We just feel it's probably the right time to freshen them up a little bit, and hopefully they're bouncing in here next week full energy.
Yeah, but you planned that in your blocks.
Yeah, we'd looked at it earlier in the year, and this was always going to be a week that we looked to freshen them up. Whereas the last time we had a break, that we actually trained the Tuesday, Thursday, and then they had 3-day break over the weekend. Yeah, unfortunately going to that break with the loss under the belt there. But up against the Pride, we'll talk about that next week, JB, when you go up there, because they're a quality outfit. We've said it 100 times. There's no easy games in this one here, but there's no easy games for coaches because you're dealing with Storm players going up and back. Your injuries, players transferring out, which is, don't get me started on that. Shouldn't happen in the middle of the year. That's just my personal opinion. But these sort of things you've got to try and put up with. What do you do next weekend when there's footy? Your little mate Glitter will go to the footy because he's got a really good lawyer. What are you going to do? You get away from the footy? Yeah, I'm going to go in and watch the Storm play on Thursday night. It's hard to get away from footy, to be honest. Like, I actually, I probably would like a weekend. But I love watching it, so I'm going to watch probably 5 games anyway. Obviously, I've got a young fellow who plays rugby league as well, plays union at school, so I'll go and watch him. I've only seen him play once in the last month. Everything sort of clashed, so I enjoy just going and being dad and watching him play. Excellent. That's what you want to do. Do you watch it from the ends like a coach, or do you actually sit in the stands on halfway? No, I do. My wife's always saying to me, like, why don't you sit with everyone else? But I actually just prefer to watch it from the end. So there you go. That's what I do. JB, look, a bit of a hiccup last weekend. Bounce back against the Pride next week or in 2 weeks' time. Obviously, a road trip up there. And like I said, I think the last time you and I went to Kansas, there was an inflatable pig involved. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Maybe. Anyway, cheers, mate. No worries. Thanks, mate. I'm here with Cosy Owena. He is a flying winger and centre. He could probably play the front row as well. He's a big unit. How are you, brother?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Yourself?
Good. Not a great outing last week against Tweed, but let's talk about the 4 weeks leading up to that. Good momentum coming into this game.
Yeah. Credit to the boys for that. Back-to-back wins.
Winning was a good outing, obviously, to get the win there, and you obviously kept rolling along. Another good win was Redcliffe, who pumped you in the trials, and then you go down to Tweed. It's a really long trip down there, isn't it?
Yeah,
You've got to drive into the third world, basically. So, mindset before the game, did you think you had this one?
Sorta, not really. Especially the boys moving up in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I sort of believe the boys thought we had it. But
yeah. So does that drive you, knowing the blokes are getting promoted up to the Intrust Super Cup?
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So they got to jump on you, Tweed. They score a couple. It's 10-6 at half time. What did the quietly spoken Mark Liddon say at half time?
Oh, it's just complete, really.
Did he go nuts?
Yeah. Yeah, just complete, really.
But the trouble is, see, you guys know that you're not playing well, and he's just reminding you. He knows you've got the talent and all that sort of stuff. You just got to respond. Unfortunately, the first set of 6 after half time, they get across the line on you again. What was the talk underneath the post there?
Oh, just
a bit of a shock?
Yeah, bit of a shock, really. Just really got to hold that ball.
All right. So you've got a couple of weeks off. You've got to go against Cairns.
Yep.
Against the Pride. What are you going to do for the next 2 weeks, mate? Obviously training tonight.
Just prepare ourselves, coming up to a big game again. And the week off, we roll again.
You're going around to Glito's place?
No, not yet.
You don't go for it. He's not home. Go for your life. He's got a great fridge and all that sort of terrific fill. Take some furniture. Do what you want. It's going to be a great weekend. So time off. You played in the Centres Wings. How long have you been at the Tigers?
I was at Tigers 2018 for Mel. I went down to Sydney, came back 2020. got cancelled and then back here again.
Back here again. Ronald Feltoga, who's faster, you on him?
Probably Ronald.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Is this a race-off?
I'll just give it to Ronald. No,
okay. All right, mate. Now, quickly, in the sheds, mate, what sort of tunes you listening to?
just a bit of R&B.
R&B. Bit of new flow?
Yeah, bit of
Yeah? You know what I'm talking about?
Nah.
No.
Are you talking about the drill?
Yeah.
Listen to love songs. No drill music.
You love Another Fighter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
On that emotional...
Yeah, same. I listen to like love songs.
Do you?
Before the game? Nah, not really.
Try? Nah. Okay. All right, maybe next time.
Maybe later.
How about we do a Christmas album? The Colts Christmas album. R&B style.
Yeah, later.
All right, we'll let you go. Listen, enjoy a couple of weeks off, mate. All the
Thanks,
best.
mate.
Great
Appreciate
chatting with you. All the best, and no doubt we'll get back on track here with the Tigers and the Colts competition. 4 on the trot. See how we go. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Thank you.
League of Ball, bye coming up this weekend, and probably a good time to come into the competition for the Tigers. Not a great weekend. Mark Glidden joins me. Gliddo, 4 on the trot, couldn't go 5. Tweed quality side.
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah.
They were good, take nothing away from them. They played some good footy. You know, they bashed us up a little bit. Pigabin's a hard place to get 2 points. You know, that was our goal, to get in there, get out of there and get the 2 points. We got in there, got out of there, we just forgot the 2 points.
They got away to a jump on you this time. Something you've been able to be better at in the last 4 games, but they got away to a couple of quick tries before you got yours.
Yeah, they had us down 10-0 and we fought back to 10-6 at half time. And you know, at half time, I thought to myself, you know, we hadn't played great footy and we're still in the game.
Yeah.
So, fortunately, in the first set of 6 in the second half, they went straight through our middle and ended up scoring in the corner. It was really disappointing. So,
is that just a lack of urgency from the kickoff straight away?
Oh, yes and no. Like sometimes you just don't turn up mentally, and you know, we warned them. We said Tweed were a good footy team, and they can play a bit of footy, and you know, the boys thought it was just going to turn up and take the chock. It don't work that way. You've got to work hard, and we didn't. And
the argument would be that, you know, obviously there's a bye next weekend, but Tweed had a bye this weekend as well.
That's
so there's
right.
no point. They didn't play as hard because they had the week off. Thinking about what's happening next weekend, girls, cars, all that sort of stuff, which is probably what you're going to be doing this weekend.
Exactly.
But yeah, disappointing. This week, we send the boys away?
We're trained tonight,
yep.
And then we give them 7 days off. So
okay.
I'll do a bit of video with them tonight. Show them it's fairly negative, and I always finish with a little bit of positive. Work out where we went wrong. You know, there's a few wounded blokes. We'll hopefully get them back when we go up to Cairns. And we had 3 playing cup, so you know, with every negative there's a positive. So the positives were, from a development perspective, we had 3 guys, 3 of our best players go up the cup, which is fantastic.
Yep.
Whether they stay there, I don't know. That's up to JB at the end of the day. But
give somebody else an opportunity, though.
Well, it certainly does, and you know, sometimes they take it, sometimes they don't. On the weekend, we probably didn't take our opportunities.
So was the back end of the game, anything positive to go into the sheds and go to a week's break? Was there some positive stuff that they held their heads up at the back?
There's always positives.
Yep.
We debuted young Jackson Chang, who's a 17-year-old kid that's come through our Mal Meninga system.
Right.
I thought he went really well. I was quite pleased for Jackson. The other probably positive was young Madison Beckett, that's come from our Mal Meninga, played on the Saturday and came down as an 18th man on the Sunday. So he spent the whole weekend at footy, what he didn't have to do. Which, from a team perspective, I think that's fantastic.
Okay. This weekend, as I say, you've got to buy. You going to do anything around the house for a change?
No, I'll probably go to the footy on the weekend, I'd say. Something different.
Do you, you got a good lawyer then?
Mummy earns more than I do. So.
A good lawnmower man, but anyway, so there you go. No, it's probably a good time to have a bit of a break here. JB spoke about it last week about playing in. You knew the bye was coming, so you play in those quarters and that sort of stuff. So you sort of structure things around there. Reset for who we got?
We got Cairns, the Northern Pride in Cairns will be a tough one. A lot of our blokes have never been on a plane before, let alone travel anywhere. So it'll be quite interesting. I'm lucky I got Trav McLean that works with me, that used to be the Broncos media manager, and he's travelled with Tonga and he's travelled with the Bronx everywhere. So he's sit the boys down, have a chat with them about, you know, what it's like to travel, what we got to do, what we can't do, and hopefully we get it right.
All right, well, there'll be a few boys screaming on as they take off and hanging on nice and tight.
I'll be one of them. I don't like flying.
I don't like flying either, exactly right. There's only one way, and that's down. All right, all the best here. Unfortunately, you didn't finish off that first part. 4 wins, a lot of positives come out. Players going up in the cup here, so
yeah,
good on you. It's not too bad, and a bit of a wake-up call. Probably won't be easy.
No, not at all.
But it should be a good night.
Looking forward to it.
All right, mate. Cheers.
Welcome back to League and More. I'm joined this afternoon by legendary Eastern Suburbs Rugby League player and so forth. A recent Order of Australia winner as well in the Queen's Honours list. Des, congratulations on your years of service to Rugby League. We'll get into some detail about that in a very short while. But can you tell us how you felt about with the OAM on the Queen's Honours list?
Yeah, I'm very proud, obviously. Yeah, a bit of a surprise, to be honest. So when I got the email just prior to Christmas, yeah, I thought someone was having a go at me. And anyway, went on from there. So we knew just before Christmas. Weren't sworn to secrecy, weren't to tell anyone. So didn't even tell the family until, well, Faye knew, obviously.
Yes.
But until just before, just before it was due.
Yeah. We'll go right back to the start now, Des. Congratulations, that's a well-deserved honour, I might add,
Thank you.
before we do that, for your contribution to Rugby League. And we'll go into that a little bit now. Obviously, you're born in Ipswich, started your career out there in the juniors and so forth. Just tell us a little bit about that early part of your life in Ipswich.
Yeah, so we lived at 1 Mile, which is the other side of Ipswich, and then I went to Blair State School, and I made a Queensland under 7 from there.
Yep.
So I made the Ipswich side and, played Johnny White. I was just behind Johnny White and Robbo, Ian Robson,
yep,
and a couple of those guys. So I made Queensland side in 1961,
yep,
7. Kevin Brash was the coach.
Okay.
I had to laugh. They had the trials over at Davies Park, and he was reading the numbers out, and I'm counting, and 13 in those days was locked, Yep. So I'm thinking, I missed out. I thought I missed out. Yep. So and then they got to I got to 13. I thought it was 14. I thought, oh, well, I'm on the bench, reserves, and Kevin, as he did, said, well, you're here, and I said, no, sir, I'm on the reserve. He said, no, you're not. You're a front row from Ipswich. Because around that time was Dud Beatty, Gary Parcell, and
yep,
Kelly, of course, Noel Kelly. So.
Yeah. And so you went from the Ipswich club competition in the senior grades and down to East. Tell us a little bit about that journey. How did you come out to talk to you and get you down here?
So it was interesting. I'd actually played Kruger Cup for Ipswich and Bulimba Cup,
yes,
in the first couple of years, first grade up there, and I got fairly badly injured up in Bundaberg playing against the Bundaberg side, and I did my knee pretty badly, and so I come back and I went to doctors and everything else, and I went to the specialist, and he said, there's not much we can do for you, so we'll I think you should have the year off and see how we go from there. So he said, whether you play or not again, it's sort of up to you, sort of thing, Yep. So I went back to Ipswich, and my coach at the time, my captain coach, was it's gone blank, Jimmy Foreman, and Jimmy, was a real tough old coal miner forward. He'd played for Queensland. He'd been up in the north, captain coaching and things like that, and. He's come around to see me, and he said, what are you going to do? And I said, well, not much I can do. The doctor said, just give it away and try next year. He said, if you can stand the pain, I know a bloke that can fix you. And I said, oh, well, I'll give it a go. And so he brought me down to a guy at Jimmy Bowen at Annerley.
Yep.
And Jimmy was a trainer, strapper, whatever they used to call them in those days. And he was blind. And he got me there, and Jimmy was right, it hurt. Anyway, he had me playing in 6 weeks, so I come back and played in 6 weeks, and So out of that, East got in touch with me. I come back and we actually played in the grand final up there.
Yep.
So the young fellow Gary Bigham and I were pulled up around the under 18s because they'd lost a few players to injury and representative football and things like that. So we worked our way into the Swift side and A-grade side, and then they made the grand final that year. And we, you know, when it was all over, I'd come down to see the trainer, and then East got onto me through him, I think.
Yeah.
And I met Les Jeeves outside the Stones Corner Hotel, because Les was the captain coach in '68.
Yes.
And then met Jack and Tom come up to Mum and Dad's place at 1 Mile and signed us up.
So the legendary 226 game career that you had here at the Tigers could have been naught,
Yeah.
in effect, if not for the blind person who was giving you a hand and so forth. So marvellous story. I haven't heard that before. So.
No, so Jimmy Bowen, he was the man.
Yeah.
So a lot of people went to him, and you know, he obviously was very good.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
You mentioned the era of captain coaching. That was a time that was a more common thing, certainly, than it is today. You went on to captain coach here at East as well.
I did, yeah. So, so when I come down, Les was a coach, and he coached for '68, '69, and then Teddy Berenkamp come in and coached, and Ted was a bit different to all the coaches. You know, he'd played a lot in England, but we didn't know him here so much. And he'd played for South in the comp, and he had a stellar career over in Great Britain and very well respected and whatever. So he come down and he come over, and so I was under him in 1970, and from 73 to 73, I think. Then he gave it away, and then we had Norm Pope for a year, and then we won't go on that flash. And they wanted Ted to come back and coach, and Ted said he'd only do it if I was the assistant, sort of thing.
Yep.
And so I always believed that I'm in the program as the coach, but he was the coach, and I was the you know, the assistant, sort of thing, for the first year. And then the end of '76, he said, "I'm out. You're in."
As you've mentioned, some pretty well-known names in that era of rugby league that you've coached by: Ted Berenkamp, you know, Norm Pope, Les Jeeves, and so forth. Do you reckon that was one of them more influential, or that influenced you more in your football career than the other?
I think you get a bit out of everyone.
Yep.
You know, with Les, I found Les created the team spirit around the club.
Yes.
And he got us all together, and we were really good. You know, we made the grand final in '68, and I think we got knocked out in the semis in '69. So, you know, he had that camaraderie about teamwork and whatever else. Teddy was a real technical coach. Mm-hmm. You know, he had plans, and you know, go through things with you, and you knew what you were doing, and you knew the support was there and everything else. And then, yeah, Popey, we had a bad year with the year Popey was here, so I can't sort of say a lot about that. But yeah, so they were the three guys that mainly, you know, when I was playing under 14s, when I made reserve grade in those days up there, and just, you know, just keeping yourself fit, I think, and whatever. And he come out and he said, well, if you want, it was a fellow named Gary Bigham that I was going up with, and he said, I'll come out and play the first couple of games and make sure and look after you guys. So it was a tough comp, you know, like in those days, you know.
Well,
so
the Blimber Cup was a very tough comp as well, from my understanding of it. I never saw any of the games, but I heard lots about them.
Yeah, no, they were fun.
There's during that period you mentioned, you know, grand final finals that you got to but got knocked out. But there was a good deal of success in the '70s for the Tigers. Yeah,
there was. So '68, my first year here, we made the grand final, and '69 not so well. '70 was struggled. '71 we made the grand final against Valleys, and they beat us. You know, what, 4 to 6 points or something, I think it was. Then we backed up and we won it in '72. And then '73, we struggled a bit. I did my other knee in '73, and I had I got a contract at the end of that. I think had an operation at the end of the year, and then '74 wasn't a real good year for us, and then '75 we started to rebuild, and '76 we made the grand final and got beaten by West 16-1.
Yeah.
We were leading 1-0 at one stage.
Yes, that famous field goal.
Yeah, so Payne's kicked the field goal. I said to him about 6 weeks later, I said, what got into you? And he said, oh, someone offered us $50 for the first point scorer, but I said, did he pay? He said, no. I'm not sure. That's bloody good to hear. But yeah, no, I don't know whether he did or he didn't. But yeah, that just came out. That was Payne. He came out of left field. So, and then '77, '78 we won. '79 we made the finals, and then '80 I was gone.
Yep, we'll talk about the post-East era in a moment. But during that period, you had an opportunity, I believe, to go to Sydney.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of opportunities through my career, but I got an offer at the end of '69 to go to North Sydney. I never actually got the money value or what it was, but I'd played for Queensland in '69, and they brought a rule in that once you played for Queensland, you couldn't go for 3 years. So that came into effect, and the North Sydney coach was, can't think of his name at the moment, but he Roy Francis it was. So I'd spoke to him a few times, and then it sort of dragged. I said, when we applied for clearance, this rule come up, and then he said, oh, we'll work our way around that, so don't worry about it, we'll keep going. But I hadn't heard from him for about, quite a long time, so I thought, oh, well, I'll just stay here, and that's what we did.
Des, you mentioned that as well.
Oh, and the other one was, I got an offer when I was in my last year here, when Rod was playing in Sydney at Balmain, and they were looking for an older guy to lead the forwards or something like that.
We call them experienced here.
Experienced player. Anyway, I got an offer to go there, and I went down and I met with the guys from Balmain, and they took me around Drummoyne and everything else. Fake went down, and we had 3 kids at the time, and Haley was on her way, I think, and so we went down and had a look around, and at the end of the day, we just couldn't. It just didn't happen,
Sure.
So,
yep.
So that was the only 2 genuine ones. I'd heard other people say that might have been made an offer, or are you interested? But nothing come of it.
Gee, the 3-year rule wouldn't stand up in today's society, would it?
Well, it probably wouldn't have stood up then if they challenged it. But it was just the end of the season, and
Yeah.
So.
You then left your beloved Tigers and headed down to the Bayside to coach Wynnum in 1980. That little phase was a very successful part of your coaching career as well.
Yeah. So club's not going to like this, but so what happened at the end of the year? They said East said to me that they weren't interested in signing me because, well, they said. I hadn't had to apply for the jobs up until then. They just said, well, look, the job's yours if you want it. So that year it came up, and there was a bit of rumbling, and I thought, I haven't heard anything. So I said to Ted, what's going on? He said, well, you're going to have to apply, and we'll go through the process. So that's probably not a good sign. So I did anyway, and then he rang me up. I had a brewery truck at the time, and he rang me up about 10 o'clock at night after the committee meeting and said, listen, you haven't got the job, and I'd been asleep, so I said, what job, and I wake up the next morning and I thought, oh, well, I'm finished, so that was it. So I didn't know what to do, to be honest. I thought, and they didn't, Langy was given the short shift too, so he'd had a retina detached, I think, in the last, he missed the last game in '79, and just got his 200 games up, and then he was told that they weren't going to sign him either, So anyway, as it's turned out, Rod and I had a sportswear store out at Cannon Hill, and we had a trial over at Wynnum Plaza for a while, and over Christmas, and Rod came up from Sydney, and Dennis Ward and Henry Holloway were having lunch at the tavern, and we'd passed them, and they just said, "What are you doing next year?" I said, "No, not much by the look of it." And Henry, and I'd been coached by Henry in the rep sides in Brisbane and whatever, so he just said, "If you want to come down here, we'll give you a run." So then I'd had a couple of offers from other clubs, but nothing. Well, I didn't want to go to Davies Park, that cricket pitch in the middle of the field, and Redcliffe was a long way to go and things like that. So I thought, well, I'll just see how I go at training. And I just went to training when they started, and after about 2 or 3 months, they said, "You're going to have a run on it." So
they didn't sign you on the back of the beer coaster, as was traditional in those days?
No, not in those days, mate. So no, I went down, I went to train, and I did all the pre-season with them. And Penny was expecting one of their kids as well, and Langy used to drive past my place on the way home, and if the car was out the front, he'd give me a call,
Yep.
So he rang me and told me he'd got an offer from Bozo to go to Sydney.
Roosters,
so that's what happened there.
Yeah. Went on from those playing days and then retired, I think, at the end of the 80 season?
81.
81 season, and then straight into coaching again down there?
So what happened with Henry at the end of 80, I was happy to walk away, and say I had enough, and sort of made quite a few friends, obviously at Wynnum, and Wynnum said to me, "Will you coach? Are you interested in coaching or captain coaching?" And I said, "Well, I'm not interested in taking Henry's job, because he'd given me the opportunity down there." So anyway, I went around and seen Henry and said, "Mate, what's happening? Are you going to coach? Are you not going to coach, or whatever?" And he said, "Have they approached you?" I said, "Yep." He said, "Well, give me a couple of days." He said, "If I don't get back to you, don't worry about it. I won't coach." So and that's what happened. So they had a function there one night, and I don't even know what it was for, whether they had a band in or something, and Dennis come down and says, he said, "You right to sign?" I said, "Well, I haven't heard back from Henry, but I guess it's okay." And he said, "Well, Henry's told us he's not going to coach."
Okay.
So I said, "Okay, well, fair enough." And so I captain coached for a year, and then retired and just coached the next 4 years.
And during that period?
Yeah, well, Rod come up from Sydney. Rod had retired from Balmain, and we'd played a few games. I think they had the pre-season was the state league in those days.
Yes, it was.
And so we got him towards the end of the first,
round
through the state league. We'd played up in Emerald or somewhere like that, or I don't know where it was, but up there north somewhere. And Rod sort of, with his experience and his toughness, really, he handled whatever was happening up there, and all the boys were really excited that he was in, and we went on to win the premiership there with him leading the side.
82, and then repeated again in 84.
83 won the state league, I think, and then we got knocked out in a knockout semi-final midweek for the premiership, and
Probably
then
might have been by East that year.
I think it was. So I didn't want to.
Didn't want to give us that credit.
No, I wasn't quite sure, but I think we got knocked out by Valleys in the midweek game, and you blokes.
We'd already made the final.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then, so where were we?
84.
84. So we went through and won it, and Gino and Scotty and Tony Cam, they were actually supposed to come to East in 1980.
Yep.
And when I didn't, well, they were under the impression, my understanding is they were under the impression that I was going to be the captain coach, and when that didn't happen, they decided to stay home in Townsville, and then how it worked out, I don't know, but I was still getting picked in Brisbane sides. So we played a Brisbane side and Scotty was in the side.
Yeah.
And he said to me during the year, "What are you doing next year?" I said, "I don't know. I'm getting up there, so I'll probably retire." And he said, "Well, if you're coaching it when I'll come down and the boys will come." So and that's what's happened.
It was a pretty fair side.
Well, it was. I mean, when they first come down, no one knew them, of course. I think they had a bit of a reputation up north, but no one had seen them in any of the rep sides or anything like that. So, but they were very good, and you know, and as I said, that part about what I learned from Les G's was getting the club together and the team together. I thought that sort of bonded everybody pretty well, and you know, we went on and won it.
They were all a little bit older than me. Obviously, Townsville boys. I'm a Townsville lad as well, and so I watched them coming through, and they were always going to be successful in Brisbane. They were very good footballers in Townsville, and went on to show that down here as well. Greg Dowling, then obviously you're Wally Lewis and those guys as well. So the makings of a reasonable football side there, Des.
Oh, definitely. Well, with Greg, Wynnum said to me, "Oh, Greg Dowling's happy to sign." And I'm thinking, yeah, well, why haven't you signed him? And they said, well, someone's got to go up. And I said, well, I've got my own business to run here and whatever. Anyway, I ended up flying up to Cairns and getting my brother-in-law, Alan Lee, to drive me down to Innisfail, I think it was, Ingham. Anyway, down there and sign Greg and come home, and then away we go.
During this period as well, went on to coach Queensland?
85, yeah. So 85, I was coaching Wynnum, coaching Brisbane, coaching Queensland, and running the transport business. So
you didn't see Faye much that year.
no, it was you know, we had a fair bit on. So so
absolutely. You also from there progressed out of your coaching career and into the selecting field for the Origin side, and obviously for Australia as well. You were there during the most successful period for the state, with the likes of, you know, Lockyer, Thurston, and that spine with Smith and Slater also. How did you build the side around those guys with your selections?
Well, I suppose when I first went to selecting, it was sort of a bit out of the blue. They just rang me up and said, "Would you do it?" You know, because I'd been. So that was 95, was my first year, was Fatty's first year.
Yes.
So the selectors were Les Jeeves, myself, and...
Is it Alan Smith?
No, Smithy wasn't there then.
It's a wonder they didn't give you a ticket for life after the 95 series, if it was your first year to be a selector until you could select.
Oh, Arthur. It was Arthur Pizza.
Okay,
Yeah, so Arthur, and I remember when we got together, Fatty hadn't coached. He hadn't coached anything. I hadn't selected, and we had Arthur and Les. And so at the end of the meeting, that's how Benny Eichen got his shot, you know. We were sort of working out, because not all players were eligible. If they were a Super League, they weren't eligible, and so none of the Broncos were eligible, I think, and except Gavin Allen.
Right.
So Gavin made the side, and we went on from there.
Yeah. That was a very successful period as well. You obviously continued on through there. You're been back at East now for a number of years as a CEO also. Yeah. Now retired from that role. So was that a good period? Did you enjoy that period of the?
Well, I always seem to be getting caught up, you know. Like when I finished in 80, so I coached 88, 89.
Yes.
And that's Langy come in and took over.
Yep.
And then I was going to give it away then. One of my brothers and I were doing a bit of stuff up in Ipswich, and we decided we'll step aside, and then Richo was the chairman.
Yes.
And he said, "Oh, look, just for a bit of interest, why don't you come down and help me out on the committee?" I said, "Well, I'm trying to get away from it." And he said, "No, well, just help me out. You won't have to do too much, just..." So that's what happened. I came down and got on the committee, and then 4 or 5 years later, Langy rang me up and said, "Look, I'm going to Sydney," and so was Richo. "So you're going to be a coach, or are you going to be a chairman of a footy club?" So I spent 7 years, I think, as chairman of the football club.
Right.
And then during that time, I was also invited to be a selector from 95, and that went through to 2016. So it was, you know, obviously the players, you know, have got to pick themselves, but you try and make it so they all help one another and, you know, support one another.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was a good period. So we were fairly successful during that.
Very much so.
20 years.
Yep.
21 years.
Absolutely. Do you have any current involvement with the club? Anything to do with the Firehawks bid that we've got going at the moment?
Yeah. So I'm on the committee. I had a year off after I finished as the CEO.
Yes. And
then I come back on the committee, and now I'm on the executive and also on the Leagues Club board, and now on the Firehawks board.
So the time doesn't really get any less involved. You don't get any less involved in the club.
No, not really. But anyway, I mean, I'm retired, so you got to do something.
Well, I was just about to mention that you're in retirement, but it doesn't sound like you're retired at all. You're not retired from football. You've retired from working, though.
Yeah, I retired from working. So yeah, no, but I enjoy it. I enjoy the involvement, and it's a great game, rugby league. Yeah, you can catch up with people that you played against, 20 years or 30 years ago, and not so much relive the past old times, but you've got a common respect there for each other and enjoy their company, So.
Yeah. And I can't conclude this segment and this fantastic interview with you without mentioning your beautiful wife, Faye. Yeah. She's been a pillar of support for you right through your life, basically.
Yeah. So I met Faye in about 67, I think.
She'll correct you on that if it's not 67.
Well yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. But we were introduced. I used to knock around with her cousin.
Right.
And so when I went to around those 16, 17-year-old years, I was mates with Gary Bigham, I'd mentioned before, and he worked at Forrest, and Trevor worked at Forrest, and as it turned out, my brother Paul ended up working at Forrest. And we used to go to the surfing every weekend. And we come back one weekend, and Faye used to come down from Rosewood and stay at their place at Pavel over the weekend because they went out with the girlfriends and whatever else. And her auntie, said, well, I've got a bloke here that would suit you. And it's worked out really, really well.
Yes, it has, Des. Look, thank you so much for your time here this afternoon. We really appreciate you spending that time with us and sharing your football career with us. Yeah. Obviously, your football involvement is not done. You're happily into retirement and you've got a bit more time to spend with your beautiful family and grandchildren and so forth. Congratulations again on the OAM from earlier in the year. As I said at the start of the segment, it was absolutely well deserved for a lifetime involvement in rugby league, and it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Gavin. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Wow, what a show. Finishing off with the legend himself in Des Morris, mate. Always, you get the good ones.
Well, yeah, the boys did a bit of the work. I just come along and ask a couple of questions, and then the guests obviously show their experience and of their life in rugby league.
Yeah, the Tigers obviously had a lot of great international players, but then go on to other things. And Des obviously became a selector as well. Some say he did a good job, some said he did a bad job, and they'd be the ones who got dropped. But there's guys like Des and across the world, and Bob Fulton unfortunately passed away during the week. You forget about the great players of the past, and it's great to see someone like Des giving time up and coming back to talk footy.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and it's fantastic that we get those people and we have that history in the club. Some clubs don't have the history that we have, and it's great to get those ex-players and ex-legends back into the game and have a conversation with them.
And you get a lot of respect for sticking with your club. Just saying, guys, if you're going to sign for the year, stay with the year. That's just me. Have a bit of a belief. Anyway, we're back next week. Cheers.